Hello, and welcome to the Notary Business Talk, the podcast dedicated to sharing ideas, strategies, and techniques to help grow your business and improve your life. And now, with more than 2 decades of notary business experience, your host, Abraham Zamora, the notary entrepreneur.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Notary Business Talk. My name is Abraham Zamora. I am the Notary Entrepreneur. In this episode, I'm going to discuss how to survive a notary work slowdown. Because if you're new to this industry, it may seem like in the last year or two, it's been really, really busy. But for those of us who've been doing this for a very long time, I've been doing this for over 20 years, we're aware that there are cycles. There are ups and downs in this industry. And so my goal in this episode is to give you guys 3 tips to help you weather the storm when things start to slow down. Now, I'm going to get into why we have these cycles, what typically happens during those cycles, and if doing this notary work is something that you are doing full-time, or your ambition is to be full-time, and you want to continue doing notary work during these slowdowns. And this episode is for you because I will be discussing how to get through those phases when we have those dips in the market and come out stronger on the other side, while a lot of other notaries are probably going to fall off the grid here in terms of being in the business and making money. And that's kind of part of the process. It's part of the free market, which is so incredible that, supply and demand, the way, it will weed out the weak and the strong will survive. And that's a very good thing. And I'll explain why in just a minute. So that's all. And the other notary that could really benefit from this podcast is, even if you're doing this part-time, but if you rely on notary income, whether it's a second source of income, but you need it for, paying your bills or whatever, then you really want to pay close attention to what I'm going to be saying in this episode. It may be the difference between you still being a notary and doing notary work, and not having work at all. If you're not slow right now, which I know a lot of notaries aren't, it's a lot of times it's based on location, then now is the perfect time to prepare. And a lot of this advice is meant for you notaries that are still getting pretty busy or have business work coming in, but start to implement these steps now, so when it does slow down, you're in position to be successful. And not just when it slows down, but just in general, just really solid, fundamental, amazing, just business advice that I've picked up over the years that have led me to the success that I have. And so very proud of that success. And now I'm just eager and just excited to share this with you guys. But let me get a little personal with you guys, though. Let me just give you guys some updates on my life, because I know for a lot of you who are avid subscribers and listeners to the show, which I appreciate you so very much, who have been with me since the very beginning. I haven't been on this, I haven't recorded a podcast for a while. And so I kind of want to give you guys an update and just let you know I will start recording more regular shows moving forward. But for those of you who have been following me, you know that I got engaged a few months ago. In fact, it was a day after Christmas. I proposed to my girlfriend in Mexico. We were on vacation in Puerto Vallarta, and I, with the help of one of her relatives, we just planned this out. And one of the things about Puerto Vallarta, if you guys aren't familiar with that part of Mexico, they are known for having just beautiful sunsets. And I think they have probably the most amount of sunsets in Mexico just because of the way the weather is and the climate and the way they're positioned. But they're known for their sunsets. And I know that my girlfriend at the time had mentioned how much she loves sunsets. So I had to pay the security guard to let me onto this private resort. They had this kind of this balcony thing. And I got the whole family. We had the whole family, so it was like a family reunion vacation, and I kind of fooled everyone to I told everyone we're gonna take a family picture. We took a family picture. Were all together, and as everybody was moving off this balcony to head back, then I proposed, and it was a beautiful sunset wedding proposal, and at least I thought it was really nice, and she was surprised, or at least she pretended to be surprised. I think she kind of had an idea, I mean, trying to plan this stuff sometimes you give clues, right? And I think she picked up on a lot of those. So, and now we've actually set up a day that we're going to get married. So it's going to be in June of this year. We're going to have a nice backyard wedding here in sunny California. And actually, it's going to probably be really hot, but there's going to be a pool there. So I might take the plunge in the pool, if you know what I mean. So that's going to be exciting. We're going to have a nice barbecue, kind of Southern style a wedding. Yeah, that's kind of be the theme. Real casual, real cool. And I'll tell you kind of where that came from. When I first met her, she was very interested in travel, and she loved to travel, and almost to the point where I thought it was excessive, the amount of travel she'd like to do. And I, on the other hand, was an introverted hermit, and I didn't go anywhere. And I think part of it was because I've been doing notary work for so long that I was always traveling. I'm always just driving around, that when I finally have some time off or a vacation, I just want to stay home because I'm always gone. So I think that's where that might have come from, or at least part of it. But she really got me out of my comfort zone in terms of traveling and going out. And one of our first trips that we ever went on when we were dating was to Mardi Gras, New Orleans. And I got to tell you, for those of you who don't know me personally, I'm a bit of a foodie. I love food. I love the idea and the taste and the experience, and just and the culture behind, the history behind food. And it's just an amazing way to stimulate your senses. It's just, I just love it. And so New Orleans, for most of you who are familiar with the area, is a beacon of food. I mean, it's a beacon of incredible, delicious tasting food. So we went to New Orleans, and we had an amazing time, and we had some incredible food. Now, she wasn't the foodie. I was the foodie. She liked to travel. She likes to learn about history. And, we went down the Mississippi, and we had like a historical tour. There was a battle that was fought out there, and so we learned all about that. And so that was her jam. She loves the history side of things, but I was more of a foodie. So I introduced the foodie side of travel to her, and now she's a foodie kind of as well. And when we go travel, we make it a point to make sure that we enjoy good food. But the point is that I fell in love with New Orleans. I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the food, and more importantly, I fell in love with the music. And so our wedding is going to be sort of a New Orleans barbecue, Southern backyard wedding. We're hopefully going to have a brass band playing some nice cover music, and we're going to have Southern food, barbecue, and, all the shrimp and grits. Hopefully, if we can get all that planned out. We're even thinking about having like a wedding cake of beignets. I think we initially thought about doing that, but I don't think we're gonna do that after all. I think we're gonna keep it pretty traditional. But anyhow, so that's one of the first updates. The other update that I want to share with you guys is, if you recall episode 10, the episode was, will becoming a notary make you happy? I had talked about being in this thing called the Happiness Workshop, and Tal Tesfani, who is the CEO of the Ayn Rand Institute, he was the one that sort of directed that whole thing. Well, he had a second workshop, and I was invited as sort of because of the success that I experienced through that workshop to come back and sort of facilitate as a coach. And that just ended a couple of weeks ago, actually this week on Sunday, which was a couple of days ago. And that kept me really busy. Part of the reason why I haven't been able to do podcasting, but that's over. And that was a wonderful experience. Just tons of people who were just really focused on their values and what they wanted to achieve in life, and kind of helping them going through that process. And I know a lot of you notaries are here because you guys have ambitions and goals and dreams. And let me just say that, first of all, I don't care where you're at in this stage of your business, if you've taken any steps to move forward in becoming a notary, whether it's getting your license, whether it's signing up for a course that helps you get trained to become a notary, signing agent, for example, or just having the courage to get that first signing. I mean, gosh, I can still remember. I still remember clearly my first signing and that experience of excitement and fear. And I was anxious. And I remember I made a mistake. I missed an initial and I had to go back and fix it. But that was the game changer for me. That is what changed it, my career course at the time. And so some of you notaries aren't out there. You haven't gotten to that point yet. Some of you have, and some of you are very well experienced. I've heard from you. You guys have been doing this as long as I have, and kudos to you guys. But I don't care where you're at right now in this stage of your business. I just want you to reflect on what you've achieved so far. Think about the moment when you first decided to do this and where you're at now and how much you've accomplished during that time. And then I want you to feel proud of yourself. And I want you to pat yourself on the back and say, wow, look at how much I've been able to achieve in this amount of time. And yes, you have other goals and you have other ambitions, but I want you to relish that success because you've earned it. You've gotten to this point by your own will, by your own choices, by your own volition, and that's something to be celebrated. So I'm here to tell you that I'm proud of you guys. Keep at it. Keep going wherever you're at. And the fact that you're listening to this podcast tells me you guys are serious about your notary business, serious about growing your success. And so thank you for listening. And let's get into this. So let's talk about notary slowdowns and cycles and why this kind of stuff happens, right? So we as notaries, particularly if a lot of us do like loan signings and mortgages, refis and purchases and that kind of stuff, we are very affected by the market, by the real estate market. And so when things go up and there's a lot of refinance, a lot of purchasing, we're very, very busy. And that's what we've been experiencing for the last two years or so. But then there's always a slowdown. There has to be a slowdown because of the nature of how markets work. It's a healthy thing. Now, the way things are right now is not healthy. I mean, the way the things are being sort of manipulated with the Federal Reserve and the idea that, the central bank controls rates is very manipulative and hard to sort of predict what's going to happen. And this is more of a reason why we as notaries need to be in a position where we're prepared to handle these dips, these ups and downs, not only when times are good, but also when times are bad. And when times are good, remember that times will get bad at times, or it will slow down for some more than others, depending on how well you prepare yourself. And keep that in mind so that you have the attitude, the fortitude, and a plan to overcome those challenges when they come. Does that sound good, guys? I hope that inspired you right now to say, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to learn. This is what I want to focus on because I think it's important. So let's talk about why markets shift and change, right? So the first thing we just touched on, which is the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve controls interest rates in the market. And obviously interest rates have a huge bearing on the amount of purchasing and refinances that occur in this country. So I remember back in 2008 when the market collapsed, rates were super, super low prior to that. And so it was very busy and there was easy liquidity. Loans were really easy to get. All of these different regulations and rates will affect the amount of purchasing and the amount of refinancing in the market. And that drives business in our field. And when those things happen, particularly when rates go down, which they have been almost to near zero in terms of the market, right? Then we've seen a lot of work. We've seen a lot of business coming from that. And a lot of us have benefited from that and made a lot of money, hopefully saved a lot of money. And I know I have, and but because I know what's going to happen, right? I'm prepared, and anticipating a slowdown. Fine. That's the first thing. But here's the second thing that happens in conjunction with rates, right? So rates go up, then it starts to slow down, and we have less work, less refinancing, because those people who already refinance to get a lower rate, there's no need for them to refinance anymore. I mean, I remember meeting the same borrower like 3 times in 1 year because the rates kept going down, and he kept refinancing because it made sense. I mean, the rates were just dramatically lower to the point where it benefited him to go through the process of refinancing. But the second rates go up, a huge sector that doesn't have to take cash out or has no interest in pulling money out of their house will stop just doing loans, and that will slow work in terms of refinances and purchases and all this stuff. So that's part of it, right? Rates and how they affect people's ability to get loans. The other part of it, though, is notary surpluses. So when there's a lot of business, a lot of work, a lot of notaries tend to rush in to the industry, and particularly sort of this last 2 years with COVID and you know, the weird kind of things that have happened with people working remotely, and people really just rethinking whether they even want to go to a job every day. And this was, you know, for a long time, I felt like this was my secret, right? Like this was something precious to me. The fact that people didn't realize how good it was to work from home and to be independent and to do your own thing. And now everybody was sort of forced to work from home and to sort of enjoy the freedom of what it means to be sort of self-employed and not have to go to a job. And I think a lot of people just don't want to do it anymore. And I think that's the great resignation, they call it. I think that's what's happening. People have gotten a taste of this beautiful freedom that we experience, at least as notaries, which is my expertise, which is my niche here. So, but what happens is when it starts to slow down, rates go up, there's a lot of notaries competing for the same amount of work, supply and demand. And now you are one of many notaries out there that are looking for work. And so that will also exacerbate the amount of work that has to be spread out amongst all these notaries. And you will see a slowdown. A lot of people, I mean, I follow forums and I get feedback from people. I mean, since the middle of last year, people in certain areas have seen a slowdown. And I mean, I've seen the slowdown, although maybe not as much as some people, but because I've done these things to prepare, because I was in the 2008 market when I didn't prepare and the market collapsed under me and I had zero business for months, or it felt like months, or at least not enough to sustain my lifestyle. And some hard choices had to and were made during that time. And so although markets slow down, I actually don't fear them anymore. In fact, I kind of look forward to them because a lot of things happened during slowdowns that may be beneficial to you if you position yourself. So let's get into the 3 things that you can do now, if it's not slow, but the 3 things you can do in general to prepare and weather these notary market work slowdowns that we experience through our career and that we will continue to experience for as long as you decide to do this. Particularly for those of you who really want to make this a career, you're going to deal with these ups and downs. And so it's important that you prepare now for those sort of things. So let's talk about where the 3 things that you need to do to prepare for notary slowdowns, for notary dips in the market. So the first thing we need to focus ourselves is customer service. You see, when there's a slowdown, you're going to be one of many notaries out there, and you need to find a way to get top of mind awareness, to stand out amongst all of these other notaries that are going to be out there looking for work. And so the way you do that is you provide great customer service, and you do this not when it slows down, but you do this while you're currently doing work and you're busy, whether it's you work directly with escrow and title companies, or more importantly, if you're doing notary signing work with signing agencies. The idea is to be the best possible notary you can be, what ends up happening is when it's very busy, a lot of notaries get sort of arrogant and cocky, and they feel like, you know, they're needed more than they need the signing service company or the escrows and titles, and they'll get a chip on their shoulder, and they begin to sort of get a little sassy. You know, it's like, I don't need you, you know. But when the market collapses, and here's what happens. So signing service companies and escrow and titles, because they have a need for notaries, they have to get the notary done. And if it's really busy and there's not enough notaries, they will deal with notaries BS, and they will put up with their crap until they don't have to. And when they don't have to is when it starts to slow down. So they know who you are, guys. They follow, they keep track. And if you're one of those notaries that's always polite, that has a good attitude, that does the best work that they can do, you update your orders, you call the clients, you give excellent customer service to the borrowers. When they call you, you have a nice attitude, you're happy, you know, smile when you're on the phone. Trust me, people can hear when you're smiling, as crazy as that sounds. Be the best notary you can be in the good times and the bad, particularly in the good times, because what's going to happen when it slows down? Well, when now these signing service companies have an option to choose who they want to use, who do you suppose they're going to use? Yeah, they're going to use the notaries that were nice, that had a good attitude, that had good customer service. Be that notary. Answer your phone when they call. Return the phone call if you miss their call. Little things like that will make the difference when it starts to slow down. So that's the very first tip that I'm going to tell you right now. And this is really, it's generally good business advice. You know, just be nice. You know, have good customer service. I don't care what business you're in. Just do that. Second thing, change your attitude about the kind of work you're going to be getting. And what I mean by that is when it slows down, you know, when it's busy, you can choose which company you want to work with because they have smaller packets. They don't have as many notarized documents that have to be notarized. You maybe say, I'm going to drive only in my city or locally because there's enough work, and that's fine. You know, if you're doing it in a pleasant way and you have a nice attitude, fantastic. But it is good to make sure that you have the proper expectation that when it slows down, and if you want to continue doing this as a full-time or part-time, or you rely on the income, to change your attitude. Don't get upset because now you have to take signings that are paying less, that are larger in size, and require more notarization. That's part of the game, guys. That's part of staying in this business. It's surviving, right? The title of this episode is How to Survive a Notary Work Slowdown. And so by the reason I say change your attitude, because it goes back to the first point, is by changing your attitude, by saying to yourself, okay, it's slowing down, but here's the important thing. It's not going to be slow forever, okay? So this is the attitude. This is what I want you to think when it's starting to slow down. I need to survive this. And to survive, I need to take whatever I can to make an income if I really rely on this income. That means traveling further. That means taking a more unfavorable notary work that may require more effort on my part. And if it means taking it at a lesser fee, then it means taking it at a lesser fee. And if you know that you're going to do that moving forward, if you're expecting that, then your attitude will be completely different. And you do it with a positive attitude, fantastic. And here's what's going to happen. The market will pick up again for two reasons. One, there are just cycles in the market. But two, a lot of the notaries that aren't going to do these things or just can't hang on because they need to go get a job or find a way of making income some other way, they're going to fall off. They're going to fall through. They're not going to be in the business anymore. And we're going to weed out all of these notaries that some of us know don't have the best attitude and complain and whine, just talk talk trash on forums. Come on, give me a break. Get out of here. Are you in business or what are you doing, right? Why would you get into this and just complain about it the whole time? I still don't understand why notaries do that. So blows my mind. But it's okay because Notary Slowdowns gets rid of those bad notaries. See you later. Bye-bye. We don't want you guys here, okay? We want the good, positive, great attitude, customer service oriented notaries. That's who we like to work with. That's who we want in the industry. That's who we want representing us as notaries in this country. Yeah, there it is. That's my my inspirational speech for the day, my battle cry. Okay. All right. And the third one here, the third tip is to diversify. Okay. Diversify. And this is probably the most important one. If you want to stay self-employed, if you don't want to go back to a job, if you were able to quit your job or your goal is to leave your work, more importantly, if you quit your job and you're doing this full-time or you're doing this part-time, but you're not really working a full-time job, and it's important for you to stay self-employed, even if it means for temporarily doing something different, or better yet, building upon your current business services, this is the best way to ensure that you can really just sail through these slowdowns, because there are ways of generating income as a notary that don't rely so much on the market. In fact, some of them aren't even affected by the market. They have nothing to do with the market. That is how I was able to survive the slowdowns in the past. So let me give you some ideas of what I'm referring to, right? So I'll give you a definition. Oxford Dictionary says the diversification as it relates to businesses, right, is the process of business enlarging or varying its range of products or field of operations. So offering more services. Now, let me just give you quickly some ideas of what you could do as a notary to provide additional income and value to the marketplace beyond just say doing notary signings or doing loan signing work, right? So the most common that people who are in the notary industry who start off as loan signing agents to pivot into is to start getting your own general notary work. General notary work. What does that mean? That means getting work from people in your community who need things notarized that aren't real estate related. Personal documents, birth certificates, power of attorneys, healthcare directives, you name it, right? Divorce paperwork, trust paperwork. People need that stuff every single day, whether the market's up, whether the market's down, whether real estate's crashed, whether we're having a boom. Does not matter. How do you do that? Well, I have a bunch of other episodes where I've talked about this stuff, and there's other resources that you can find. I won't get into details, but ultimately, build a website and get yourself listed on Google and Yelp and other directories. It's more detailed than that, obviously, but that is essentially the process. And that in itself is a project that you could focus on. And if you want to listen to a few of my previous episodes where I talk about that, by all means, I lay it down a little more with detail, but that's one way you can definitely diversify. So when real estate income slows down, hey, you have income coming in from people who are calling you, who find you on Google. Another idea would be to become an officiant, performing wedding ceremonies. In some states, and I don't know the rules, but in some states, it requires to be a notary. I know I got into being an officiant because when someone wants to get married inside of a jail, a document needs to be notarized. And so I got introduced to it that way. And now I've incorporated it into my actual business. In fact, I promote myself as a wedding officiant and get regular wedding ceremonies on a monthly basis. So that generates income, and it's fun because oftentimes they'll ask you to stay for the party. And I'm a foodie, and the food, when it's good, I mean, there was one time when the food was so good, I actually felt bad taking their money because it was so delicious. I felt like I needed to pay them for the food that they gave me because it was so great. But I've many times been asked to stay at parties, and I actually accept and have a great time. It's fun. So it's great, fun, good stuff. And there's a whole side of that you could definitely focus on and stay busy when it comes to building an officiant business, right? Becoming a wedding officiant. So, and I don't do this, but I know a lot of notaries who do apostilles. So there's something you can look into that. I know Queen of Apostilles is somebody that trains and teaches you. So you might want to look her up and figure out how you can sort of incorporate that into your business. Not a lot of notaries do that from what I understand. So it's definitely something to consider if you want to diversify your services, because it is needed. I get calls for it all the time, and I have to just refer it out because I haven't gotten into it. And at some point, you got to pick and choose, right? I can't do it all. I just can't, right? Now, if it gets really slow, guys, if it's 2008 market crash slow, we didn't have this back then, but there's even just simple things just to stay self-employed and keep you busy. I remember one of my friends who was a lender. He did mortgages. He was a loan officer. When the market crashed and just loans were gone, I mean, the guy had to deliver pizzas to just make money while he continued to stay in the industry. But that was his ambition. That was his goal. Fortunately for us, we don't have to, that's not our only option. Now we can do Uber, we can do Lyft. Another interesting idea would be to maybe walk dogs, right? There's apps out there like Rover and Wag that you can actually, it's like an Uber for dog walking, and you can make money walking other people's dogs. And, at some point, depending on how bad the market gets, and we haven't really had anything major since 2008, but I just want to sort of get you guys thinking and having a framework, a mindset of, hey, I always need to be thinking about what might happen in the market that can affect my business. On top of all that, just saving your money. All of us should have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up. That's just a general rule if you're self-employed and your income is not fixed. I think that should be. I used to be a financial advisor for a few years. I think that's a rule that everybody should follow, even if you work for somebody. Right now we have a very pro employee environment, atmosphere, because people need workers. But there have been times where there isn't a lot of work, particularly after 2008, and people were let go and laid off and couldn't get work for a while. So 6 months of income minimum. I have 12 months of expenses saved up just in case. It's what we do. I mean, if you've been in business for a long time, most of you have heard this advice and are heeding that advice. But for those of you who aren't new and are still learning and are still trying to figure out how to be super uber successful in business, I mean, these are the things that you should hear and will hear and should follow as advice coming from someone who's been an entrepreneur for the last 20 years and been self-employed. And this is what I do. And I can't think of any other way to live my life. There is no safety, security concerns. I'm not afraid about, not having a safe, secure paycheck. But the reason is because I do stuff like this. I prepare myself for the, I wouldn't say unexpected because I just told you, but prepare for the inevitable, right? And if you think that way, then I think you will achieve a level of success and a level of stability in your business that will carry you through these bad times where other notaries will not survive. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was meaningful. I hope that was entertaining and educational. I love that you guys are listening. I love your guys' feedback. Please email me. The information is in the show notes. If not, you can always reach out to me at info@notarybusinesstalk.com. I love hearing from you guys. Any questions, any ideas for the show, please reach out to me. And until next time, take care, be productive, and have a great week. Thanks, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Notary Business Talk. To learn more about becoming a notary entrepreneur or to find out how Abraham can help you achieve your business goals, visit notarybusinesstalk.com.